All right, the Schilling Show rolls on here on this Manic Monday. Joel Gardner is president of the Jefferson Council. Today's topic, President Beardsley's proposed strategic plan. We're going to take a deep dive into it. Hey, Joel, welcome back to the Schilling Show, and thank you for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me on, Rob. It's always a pleasure.
All right, let's talk about how this whole proposal came about. Was this something that was initiated by President Beardsley, or were these sorts of things in action? They do this every so often anyway.
Well, I think they do it every time a new president comes in. I think they're going to want to have their own strategic plan. And so it's not surprising that President Beardsley has decided to create one. But I think it was particularly a new plan was needed because Jim Ryan's Great and Good, which was the title he entitled his strategic plan, which he set out shortly after he became president, was, if you really look at it, was like a blueprint for a socio-political activist institution in the late 2010s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the wokest area. I mean, particularly UVA following the white supremacist march and following the George Floyd incident. I mean, that whole period in the late teens, early 20s was a period of real left-wing political activism on college campuses. And a lot of that was encompassed in Jim Ryan's plan. So I think it was appropriate for President Beardsley to have a new plan. But I think what's important is when you take a look, he chose 22. He decided to create a committee to assist him. He chose 22 members of the university community, which he said was going to represent a broad cross-section of the university community.
Yes.
And without going into detail, the one section that of the university community that these 22 members did not include were any well-known moderate conservative members of the community. So there wasn't one of the kind of the few that exist. There wasn't any of the leaders of that part of the community chosen to be on his 22-member committee. But what I found most interesting was President Beardsley laid out several key priorities for his plan.
Yes.
And when you take a look at them, I mean, some of them are no-brainers. I mean, like grade school would have picked them. Faculty excellence. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Exceptional student experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Robust
research structure. Right. But then some others are really needed. He talks about access and affordability. Well, access, and everybody talks about access and where the poor people have access. At UVA, any in-state student whose family makes less than $100,000 a year, I think it's a totally free ride to UVA. So is access a problem? I don't think so. Affordability is the real problem. And the real problem is affordability for the middle and upper middle class, where for in-state, total costs are over $50,000, and for out-of-state, total costs could be over $90,000. So yes, affordability really is an issue that needs to be looked into. Other things he mentioned, which of course, world-class patient care. Well, yes, at the University of Virginia Hospital, you would expect that, but this becomes a real issue because we're coming out of the greatest scandal in the history of UVA's healthcare system, which is still yet to be made fully public.
Right.
The transparency has not been there. So world-class patient care is certainly an issue that needs to be dealt with, and there should be some more transparency about what was going on that led to at least a half a dozen of the top members of the healthcare system having to leave. And, of course, another kind of outstanding athletics. So, of course, every UVA would enjoy having outstanding athletics.
Right.
But, I mean, this has come at a cost. I mean, there are athletes, so-called student athletes now at UVA, making more in 1 year than most of their fellow students would hope to make in a decade.
Wow.
And I think that's an issue. You're paying millions of dollars to your student athletes. Yeah, we all want to win, but what has become of college athletics and UVA being a part of it, and the amounts of money being spent on athletes, and having 23 and 24-year-old kids on the basketball team who played pro ball in Europe for years. I mean, the whole concept of a student athlete and the whole concept of collegiate athletics has been degraded.
What do we do about that, Joel? Because I'm aware of the situation and the problem that's been created by this, but how do we handle that?
I think ultimately that is a decision that cannot be made by UVA. If we want to be competitive, you have to do it. The question is whether UVA, and that's why people like Tony Bennett resigned. It's like, you know, the coach of Villanova, the famous coach, he resigned. A lot of people who were really believers in student athletes and college athletics, they're gone. So does UVA just become a part of that? I mean, I think that's a question. If we want to be successful, we're going to have to be shelling out these millions of dollars. But he said all those things. But my biggest points, and I think what I'd like to talk about for the rest of our segments here, is the two things he left out of his priorities.
Give us both. Give us both of them, and then I got to go to the break, and then we'll finish out uninterrupted. So go ahead.
He left out UVA's honor system and its total degradation now. And secondly, and most importantly, is diversity of thought, which is the most important thing at UVA, which UVA lacks. And we can talk about that after the break.
Sounds like a good plan, and those are very, very important omissions, and you have to wonder if that was intentional. All right, coming back for the final segment with Joel Gardner. If you have comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. He's the president of the Jefferson Council. We're talking about President Beardsley's proposed strategic plan, and now we're going to talk about what's not in there that should have been. And you want to talk about a no-brainer? Well, listen up. The final segment of the Schilling Show coming up. All right, the Schilling Show heading into the final segment for this Manic Monday. Joel Gardner is our guest, the president of the Jefferson Council. We're talking about President Beardsley's proposed strategic plan, and now two important things that were left out. Joel, let's go to item number one, the UVA honor system, which has been completely or almost completely destroyed, and that wasn't even referenced at all in the plan.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. Yes, it was not referenced as one of his preliminary priorities, which is not surprising because it was not a priority for the last two presidents of the University of Virginia. And the honor system at UVA is a mere shadow of its former self. I mean, for over 150 years, it was part of the heart and soul of the university. I mean, one of the great honors for UVA was having their graduates considered to be people of honor and integrity. And I remember at the firms I worked at when we were interviewing at UVA, it was always UVA students were always considered something special because of that.
Yes.
They turned out people where people of character and people of integrity. The honor system is in essence dead. And what's amazing is that if you go to basically the handbook for the Board of Visitors, number one in there, when they talk about what their responsibilities in there, they talk about the traditions of the university, and they specifically mandate the Board of Visitors to preserve and protect the honor system. And that has been forgotten, and it's been just swept under the rug, and there's very little left of UVA's honor system. And it would take leadership, it would take the board and the president to make this a priority and bring back something that always made UVA something that was special and considered special in the country. I mean, we were thought to have the most effective and real honor system of any in the country, including all of the service academies. That's gone.
Yeah, that's absolutely remarkable, and what a shame on many, many levels, and it's very hard when something like that goes away to bring it back. I don't want to run out of time before we get to what you named as the most important thing, which was the lack of diversity of thought at the University of Virginia. Let's describe the problem and then, again, what needs to be done here.
The problem is that there is truly a monoculture echo chamber at UVA. A lot of this came over the last two administrations, who brought into their administrations, the faculty, and even the selection of students, people that were consistently left-wing, not even attempting to bring, forget about a balance, not even attempting to bring in anything close to a material number of moderate conservatives or anybody right of center into the faculty or administration, to the point where people are afraid. Faculty members, the few members of the administration that are conservative students are afraid to speak up and speak out in public because you can't have real freedom of expression unless there is meaningful thought diversity at the higher levels. And to show how it reflects with the students, the FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, the most well-thought-of organization that rates universities on freedom of expression, gave UVA Fs in self-censorship and in political tolerance. Think about that. Fs at Mr. Jefferson's University.
Wow.
And just to show that the numbers are there, it's not just someone looking at, grading.
Yeah.
UVA, would be considered, you would think, to be should be a moderate school. But the liberal to conservative ratio at the student level in the last ratings by FIRE were 5.29 liberal to every one conservative. Now think about it. Here are some comparisons. Chapel Hill, it was 2.55 to 1. Princeton, an Ivy League school, was 2.76 to 1.
Goodness.
Columbia, one of the most liberal schools in the country, was 4.02 to 1. UVA is 5.29 to 1. That has to be a deliberate decision.
Made by whom?
Bring in students. By the administration. So that was, and this is something that needs to be addressed at every level, at the administrative level, with the deans. When Jim Ryan became president, 3 of the 12 deans were moderate conservatives. Within 2 to 3 years, there was 0. The faculty is somewhere probably 95% left of center. I mean, it's not close. And without having that diversity, having a sufficient number of people that are thinking differently, you lose out on your education. You're not hearing other sides, so students can make the decisions on their own, and it is a powerful deterrent to freedom of expression. And that was not mentioned by President Beardsley in his, at least what he considered his initial mandates. And one of them was, which I did mention that he did, and it's global opportunities and impact. So seriously, what's more important, having UVA be part of the global world, get UVA out into the world, or put your own house in order with its honor system and with having true freedom of expression? I think you got to focus on getting that done before you're thinking of becoming some kind of a global university.
Well, when I think, Joel, of global university and UVA, I think of this picture that I saw of Teresa Sullivan, then president of the University of Virginia, hobnobbing it with senior Chinese officials in China. I wasn't comfortable with that going on at all. Is that relationship still blooming at UVA?
I don't know. There's certainly the number of foreign students has increased over time at UVA. UVA has been making more of an outreach overseas. But part of that, I mean, this all comes around. You bring in people from different cultures. Part of the degradation of the honor system, I've heard, is because they say, well, we now have a lot of foreign students where honor isn't part of their culture.
Wow.
So how can you expect them to adhere to our honor system, which is astounding.
Well,
They're coming into our university. We shouldn't be saying, hey, we'll degrade our honor system because there are people who don't believe in it. If they're part of our community, they should be accepting our tradition on our mores.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I heard that. I'm like, well, that's going the wrong direction. That's the whole purpose of the university, is to let people experience what the culture is and what UVA is all about. And if we're losing that, we're losing a lot. Joel, final words. We got about a minute. Where do we go from here?
Well, look, we're in a situation. We have a new administration. There is an opportunity. Look, a lot of Jim Ryan's great and good was found to be illegal, both by the Supreme Court and by the Justice Department. The time is really to try to bring UVA back to an institution that is focusing on individual rights rather than group rights, on letting students experience their individual responsibilities, bringing back courses that's a whole other issue, that are not politically motivated and socially agenda-based motivated. Foolish courses, nonsense courses. We've written about that on our website and on our newsletter. And what I really do is recommend anyone who really wants to know, because the university will not publicize it. We have not had a transparent university, at least for the past 15 years, is to sign up for our weekly newsletter. And you can do that by going to our website, which is jeffersoncouncil.org. And Jefferson Council is one word.
All right. I hope people will take advantage of that opportunity. It's a marvelous organization, and we need all the help we can get in trying to fix things at UVA. Joel Gardner, as always, thank you so much for joining us today on the Schilling Show. We look forward to next time.
Thanks, Rob. Looking forward to speaking to you again.